Hello, my name is Holland Timmins, otherwise known online as the Connoisseur, and today we'll be taking a look at, you guessed it, The Rocketeer, The Complete Adventures, by Dave Stevens. Interesting thing about this book, this wasn't collected until after Dave Stevens' death. It's printed by IDW. There. It's collected by IDW. Thing about the Rocketeer is that he was created by Dave Stevens, who worked as a storyboard artist on Raiders of the Lost Ark with Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. Actually, it was that project that inspired Stevens to go on and create his own B-movie serial pulp-inspired hero, the Rocketeer. So, if it wasn't for Indiana Jones, we wouldn't have the Rocketeer. Pretty sure of that. Yeah, so it starts with Cliff's Accord. Well, it starts with some spies stashing a stolen rocket pack in an old airplane, and Cliff's Accord finds it. And he talks with Pal Peavy, who's, this flight engineer type guy. Knows basic aeronautics, so he creates from this helmet. And, it's just like this whole serialized comic book with Nazi agents, spies, federal agents, PV, Cliff's Accord. His girlfriend is Betty, based off the old pinup model Betty Page. And she used to be this actress who is doing these naughty photo shoots with this guy named Marco, and Cliff's Accord is too busy fighting Nazi spies to realize that she's going to leave him, and he teams up with Howard Hughes to stop a runaway airplane, one of many runaway airplanes, and yeah, so Betty leaves, so that leads to the second story in this, where Cliff chases after Betty in Cliff's New York Adventure, I believe is the title. And there he meets up with his pal Goose, get it? Kind of like Maverick and Goose, except it's Cliff and Goose. And he also meets up with Jonas, this enigmatic figure who knows everything about Cliff's Accord and his past, including his identity as the Rocketeer. So, anyway, they team up to stop this character from killing off Cliff's old carny fellows from the circus from Cliff's past. And it's just a really great adventure story. Really great comics, really great art. It's hardly any art this good anymore in comics. And this is a really great comic. I totally recommend it to anyone looking for nice adventures to read without any identity politics or anything like that. If you're burned out by Marvel, but you don't want to go to DC, I'd recommend The Rocketeer. The IDW has the license, so they're printing more comics. So yeah, I'll show you some of the ones I've read. Well, this is actually the movie adaptation, the official movie adaptation by Dave Stevens. And it has all the character models from the comic book. And, yeah, this is by Walt Disney. This is a comic published by Walt Disney. I got this, years ago. This is the only Rocketeer comic I could find at the time. And this is also really good. Again, it's a movie adaptation, and actually has a scene in it that was cut from the movies. It's where this guy sees the Rocketeer flying by, and he falls off, and the Rocketeer scoops up and catches him. And the Rocketeer lands at this ceremony where this actress is getting her feet and hands in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, except the Rocketeer does it instead, so he flies off and she just simply writes The Rocketeer on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I thought that was pretty cool. The Rocketeer Adventures. This cover is by Alex Ross. This actually has a whole bunch of stories dealing with the war, the impending war, and wartime, and all these different subjects having to do with the Rocketeer. It's a continuation, but it's also an anthology book. It is really good, and I would totally recommend it. It's published by IDW, and yeah, it actually has a whole list of different people working on it, including the late Darwin Cook. Unfortunately, he passed away last year. I didn't even know until recently. I really did love Darwin Cook, so those are two creators we lost. Dave Stevens and Darwin Cook. There are many other creators we lost as well, but at least we still have some great ones. This is The Rocketeer Adventures, Volume 2. Yeah. Actually, this is kind of a funny story. I was actually at a previous Comic-Con comic convention before this came out, and I was talking about how I'd love to do sort of a cartoon called The Ducketeer, and like, lo and behold, a few months later, half a year later, this comes out, and I'm reading it, and lo and behold, there's the Ducketeer. I should really learn to keep my mouth shut when I'm talking about my ideas. Lots of them will get stolen. But you know what? I'm glad they did something with the Ducketeer, because I'm just glad it's out there, and I enjoyed the comic anyways. It wasn't my idea of what the Ducketeer was, but it's still a great comic. And yeah, I really like the Rocketeer and the Ducketeer, so I'm just glad something got done with that idea. This is a small idea, and I'm glad they did something with it. And finally, there is The Rocketeer, Cargo of Doom, written by Mark Waid. It's about Cliff Secord and this Cargo of Doom, essentially. Let's just say the cargo has to do with something from an incident in New York from 1933. If you know your movie history, you know what that means. Essentially, there's this invasion of dinosaurs, and Cliff Secord has to get this ray gun, this experimental ray gun from Howard Hughes, and he goes around vaporizing dinosaurs. It's such a cool sequence. No, it's a really great comic, and that's what I like about the Rocketeer comics. They aren't always based in reality, though they can be. A lot of them are inspired by the pulp adventures of the old pulp magazines, or the serialized adventures of old Hollywood serial heroes and B-movies and all of that. That's what's great about the Rocketeer, is it is essentially like one of those comics that takes inspiration from everything it's been inspired by. And it's been inspired by such serials like Commander Cody and the Rocket Men. Just like old serials like that. And it took this old concept and turned it into something new. And I love these comics. There are some more comics like The Rocketeer, not Hollywood Horror. Yeah. The Rocketeer, Hollywood Horror, The Rocketeer Meets the Spirit, and The Rocketeer at War. I'm going to be reading those and reviewing those next, but I think I've read quite a bit of Rocketeer comics. So I just thought I'd talk about them. Again, it's a lot of comics. Just a lot of Rocketeer comics, and I think they're great. I really do. I would recommend them to anyone who wants like one of those old-fashioned American and apple pie heroes that essentially doesn't always rely on his fists. It's more about adventure than fist fighting and blood and stuff like that. My mom really doesn't like most of superheroes, and I know a guy in his... I'm not living in my mother's basement. I've been living in my own apartment for years. But I'm talking about my mom because she doesn't really like superheroes that much because they're too violent for her. But the one superhero she does approve of is the Rocketeer. Because, you know, he's not driven by revenge. He doesn't have these fantastical superpowers. He doesn't have anything to do with the devilish powers or anything like that. It's just like, he's a guy who found a rocket pack and he's trying to do the right thing. And that's the most American thing of all, you know? He's truly one of the last pure heroes. And I'd totally recommend these comics to anyone interested in the movie or just interested in reading anything other than Marvel or DC. I am making more comic videos soon. Usually I review movies or television shows, but I'm trying to do something new with my channel, and I hope you enjoyed this. This is the Rocketeer Adventures review. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out the Rocketeer comics, and if you want to, like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever. This is Holland Timmins, the Connoisseur, signing off. Have a nice day.